Good morning, everybody. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another Fletch Talks live stream. I hope we're all doing good. I hope we're all doing really well on this Monday morning. I hope we've all had a good weekend. I hope we're all ready for the beginning of a brand new week. And footballing wise, potentially a massive week in the transfer window. Of course, the countdown continues to the beginning of a brand new club footballing season. And it only means that the transfer window is going to crank up a few extra notches in terms of intensity and intrigue as teams continue preparations ahead of that forthcoming campaign. We've got a couple of big talking points, a couple of big potential transfer stories to talk about today in terms of Vinicius Jr. potentially joining Arsenal. That was one of the major hot topics of the weekend, especially after that David Ornstein bomber a few days ago. And we're also talking Bradley Barcola as well, as there was a big developing story. As there was a big part of the developing story that broke yesterday from the likes of Fabrizio Romano that we're going to be discussing. Could the two go hand in hand? Could there be a bit of a domino effect, as well as obviously talking about Yan Diomande as well, as he looks like he is going to be joining Real Madrid. Could that maybe benefit Arsenal in this situation? Potentially. We see whether or not that actually occurs. But yes, it should be a very intriguing rest of the transfer window. And of course, here we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about Vinicius Jr. We're going to talk about Barcola, like I say, a bit on Diomande as well. And anything else that you guys want to talk about as well? Where you guys want to talk about maybe some early predictions? Maybe you guys want to talk about anything to do with football, basically, or whether you just want to talk anything random as well. Well, that's what we're here for. Like I always say, these are more your live streams than they are mine, of course. I just got some topics to kind of help the conversation go along the way. Like I say, I hope we're all doing good. I hope we're all doing good. If you guys can do me a massive favor and maybe hit the like button and subscribe if you are new, both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. And of course, if you guys want to hit up the chat as well, drop me your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, in that chat, whether you're stopping in just to say hi or whether you want to contribute to the conversation. It is entirely up to you. You guys are absolutely awesome. I cannot thank you enough for the love and support on the channel. It really does mean the world to me. So thank you, and thank you even more. Absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. Oh, we'll also talk some transfer beef as well, if we get time at the end, because I don't know if anybody's been following it on various social media platforms, mainly Twitter. Well, it's always going to be Twitter to me, but it's actually known as X, of course. But the Fabrizio Romano, Florian Pletterberg stuff has been crazy, really, the blow up last night. So may talk some transfers on the who to follow and ITKs and journalists like that all having their say on things and who to believe, who not to believe, and people are losing their minds over that. People are really losing their minds over that kind of stuff, on who to believe when it comes to certain things, and it's crazy to me. It's crazy, but we might get onto that a little bit later if we get the time. So, you guys want to begin on the Vinicius Jr. stuff? We'll begin on the Vinicius Jr. stuff. That sounds like a good place to begin. Vinicius Jr. Conflicting reports on this one. Conflicting reports on the Vinicius Jr. thing from a bunch of different angles. Vinicius Jr. is entering into the final year of his current deal. That is a fact. That is a fact. Rafa Benitez, fact. Vinicius Jr. is entering into the final year of his current deal with Real Madrid. Let me just bear with me 1 second. I mean, how Real Madrid have managed to get that to happen, I don't know. How Real Madrid managed to get this player down to just one last year of his current deal, I don't know. That's not normally Real Madrid like, right? Unless they really, really want to get rid of a player. So that's kind of crazy to me right off the bat that a 27-year-old Vinicius Jr. has been allowed to have his contract run down to that frightening level to begin with. But the fact of the matter is that he's got one more year left on his current deal, entering into the final 12 months of his current contract. And therefore, speculation has really started to gather momentum over where his footballing future may lie. Some are suggesting that he wants to actually stay at Real Madrid. Some are suggesting that Jose Mourinho wants him to stay at Real Madrid and is encouraging Real Madrid to do everything within their power to get him to stay at Madrid, sign on the dotted line, and commit his future to the club. And then there are those that are suggesting that Vinicius Jr. may be considering his options. Vinicius Jr., after many, many years at the club, winning everything there is to win, may want to consider his options and go elsewhere. And of course, one of those clubs that may be interested, and I assume there are a lot of clubs that are interested, supposedly, a couple of days ago, was Liverpool. Now, I'm going to say right off the bat to you people, as a Liverpool fan myself, I am not in any way, shape, or form buying that. I think Liverpool would be interested, sure, but in the same way that, Liverpool would be interested in prime Lionel Messi, the same way that Liverpool would be interested in a whole host of other players from this generation or the previous generation or the previous generation when they were in their prime, but may see it as a less realistic prospect of actually obtaining them. I'm not denying Liverpool's interests. I'm just saying that it's like everybody would be interested in them, but Liverpool should have their eyes set on other priorities, mainly a right winger. We know that Vinicius Jr., not necessarily known for being a versatile winger to play on the right. He's more predominantly on the left. But at the same time, we should be mainly focused on a right winger, a right back, a centre back, along with maybe one or two other positions as well. Not that we're doing anything right now. Seems very, very quiet on the Liverpool front. So that's the Liverpool bit taken care of because that story broke a few days ago, but I'm not putting too much stock in it. But then it's interesting that a day later, David Ornstein drops the bomber. David Ornstein drops a massive nuclear bomb on this Vinicius Jr. situation. Because as well as pursuing Bruno Guimaraes, Arsenal, they're also allegedly gearing up to potentially be involved in this Vinicius Jr. situation. Now, I don't know whether or not this is realistically going to happen. I don't claim to be in the know. I just comment on the stories that are presented in front of us and look to engage you guys in the conversation as well. I'm intrigued by this because maybe a year or two ago, this would have seemed extremely unrealistic. Not only that, but this isn't the kind of signing that Arsenal make. Arsenal don't make these already genuine, legitimate superstar signings. You know, they buy players that are either on the way to being that level or have the potential to be on that level, but they're a few years away from doing it. This would be the fully established star known as Vinicius Jr. heading to Arsenal in what would be a blockbuster move, not just for Arsenal, but for the Premier League in general. I don't know how much stock I would put in this, to be honest. But Ornstein has claimed that Arsenal have been holding internal discussions and that they've given the green light on this. And again, everything is seemingly falling in Arsenal's favour because Vinicius Jr.'s future has never looked more in doubt. And would it be smart on Real Madrid's part? I mean, it's not smart on Real Madrid's part right off the bat to obviously let his contract run down to 1 year. You're really playing with fire. And take that from a Liverpool fan. I know because we've let many of our players leave on a free transfer, mainly to Real Madrid, in fact, 2 in the past 2 years, in Trent Alexander-Arnold and Ibrahima Konate, of course. So you're playing with fire when you run down a player's contract to just 1 final year. So it's not smart on Madrid's part to have done that. But when you do that, of course, you are, like I say, you are running the risk of losing that player on a free transfer. And regardless of who and what that player is, that is extremely dangerous because there will always be takers, especially if you are a Real Madrid player, because you have that sort of pedigree. You have that sort of tag, if you like, to your career that you were once a part of the Real Madrid setup. So there will always be people that are interested. And obviously, Vinicius Jr. is no exception. You know, a couple of years ago, he was a close contender for the Ballon d'Or. Has been brilliant throughout his career. I'm going to be honest with you, people. I've never really put Vinicius Jr. on that pedestal of being like top tier, but he is very close, I would say. Maybe a bracket or two away from that kind of level of being top tier. But he's still a very, very good player nonetheless. And like I say, if he's considering his options, if maybe he's looking at the situation going, well, how have Real Madrid managed to get my contract down to this level? I'm not going to, again, claim to know the ins and outs of Real Madrid. I'm not going to claim to know the ins and outs of this entire situation. Maybe there is something out there that basically says that Vinicius Jr. has been putting off contract talks, or Real Madrid have been putting off contract talks, or you know, both are kind of calm about the situation because they know eventually it will be solved and Vinicius Jr. will be signing on the dotted line with Madrid at some point to commit his future to the club. I just think that maybe there is a bit of legitimacy. Maybe there is a bit of legitimacy in this story. And especially when you consider that Real Madrid are going after Yan Diomande as well. There's said to be a bid of about over 100 million euros. I think it's euros anyway. I think it would be euros, obviously, with depending on who's. I think Romano. What did Romano say yesterday? Let me just get this right. Sorry, guys. Bear with me 1 second. Big up football fan view, by the way. Lovely to have you here with us. Hope you're doing well on this Monday morning. Big up to you, my friend. Last night, Romano states the fee for Yan Diomande to Real Madrid will be in excess of 100 million euros. All formal steps, including documents exchanged between clubs, travel and contract signing, will happen next week. Florentino Perez decided to go all in to give Mourinho what he wanted. So a big signing there. There's also talk that Real Madrid are also going to go all in for Rodri as well. And we know they need to get the money from somewhere. So maybe cashing in on Vinicius Jr., especially whilst he has 1 year left on his current deal. You may not get the full market price for Vinicius Jr., depending on obviously where Real Madrid stand or maybe wanting to either keep him or not. But it could mean that in order to raise the funds, they need to sell a big name player. I know they are Real Madrid. I know they'll pull the money from somewhere. And, you guys can go on the conspiracy theory that maybe La Liga is a bit corrupt in that sense because the amount of financial troubles that both Real Madrid and Barcelona have found themselves in recent years have managed to see them both pull off some massive transfers in the past few years. But regardless, I still think that there could be something to this story. And especially, like I say, if there's talk that Diamande wants to play on the right, but as well as that, maybe Real Madrid would still manage to convince him to play on the left. Not only that as well, but again, you're playing for Real Madrid. You're going to be playing for the most historically gifted club in history. Playing on the left wouldn't be a bad idea. Playing on the right, again, if you're playing alongside Vinicius Jr. in that sense, would be massive. I don't know. I don't know whether or not it is about raising funds or whether it's just about acquiring top talented players. I'm interested to get your thoughts in on this one, and whether or not there is a legitimate chance that Arsenal would sign Vinicius Jr. Personally, for me, and it kind of ties in a little bit with the conversation we're going to have later about Bradley Barcola, is that I kind of hope Arsenal do go all in for Vinicius Jr. because that might leave the pathway clear for Barcola to join Liverpool, of course. So fingers crossed we do capitalize on this, but again, there is maybe a knock-on effect to that one as well in terms of, well, PSG missed out on Diamande. They pulled out of the race yesterday because Diamande made his decision of, for initially rejecting Liverpool in favor of PSG, and now he's seemingly rejected PSG in favor of Real Madrid. So maybe there's a knock-on effect to that where now PSG are basically either going to turn to other options or they're going to just try and keep Barcola at any cost. So this is all going to be very intriguing, whether there's going to be a domino effect, a knock-on effect in this transfer window, as there normally tends to be in certain situations. But yeah, I'm very, very intrigued with how this Vinicius Jr. story is going to pan out. Yeah, with how this Vinicius Jr. story is going to pan out. If I had to maybe put a bet on it, I think he's maybe gonna stay at Madrid. I'm not gonna say I know that for sure. I'm hazarding a guess that I think he will stay at Madrid. I think he might use the Arsenal interest to maybe get a better contract. I don't think he goes, but if I'm proven wrong, then of course I'm proven wrong. Who cares? It would be a blockbuster signing, like I said, not just for Arsenal, but for the Premier League as well. It would be a massive statement of intent from Arsenal. Would he fit in with the Premier League and Arsenal? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe, maybe not. More likely yes than no, but I still would have reservations and doubts unless Arsenal were going to go a bit more forward thinking, a bit more attacking minded, shall we say? A bit more on the front foot. I'm not trying to say that just to be just to be a bit a bit of an attack on Arsenal. I'm not just trying to do that. I'm just trying to say, just be a bit more on the front foot essentially when it comes to Arsenal, rather than just go 1-0 up and shut up shop. But it's going to be very interesting to see what does happen with this situation and whether or not Ornstein was right, because it does seem that for a lot of the top tier journalists and the top ITKs, this summer is going to be a massive summer for them as much as it is for football clubs in general in terms of conducting their business. As I said at the top of the video, there does seem to be a lot of beef in the world of top tier football journalism, with top journalists calling each other out over certain stories. So it's going to be very intriguing to see what does happen with Vinicius Jr. going forward. Football Fan View says that if Arsenal don't get Vinny, then who is the marquee signing? And that's a very interesting question, because you see, obviously, Arsenal, they've signed that. I'm going to so butcher his name when I say it. That's why I'm kind of stalling a little bit. I'm so going to butcher his name. Christos Solis. Zolis? I so hope I've not butchered the name, and if I have, I genuinely apologize. But you've seen that obviously they've got him. Arsenal got rejected by Morgan Rogers earlier on in this transfer window. So the real level of intrigue is what is going to happen with Arsenal. Arsenal were promised a massive transfer window. I remember that someone from the club, I can't remember who it was now, but I believe they came out and promised that Arsenal were going to make history. Arsenal were going to have a massive transfer window right off the back of winning the league. I believe that was the word that was going around, that Arsenal were going to make a big statement in this transfer window, that they were not just looking for one Premier League title and then done. They were looking to stay on top of the mountain. Getting rejected by Morgan Rogers, bringing in Solis, like I say. And then if obviously they don't get Vinicius Jr., like you say, I don't know where they turn their attention to. Like I say, Barcola, they've been lingering their interest, which I'm kind of hoping means that Liverpool get this deal done and dusted. Bruno Guimaraes, of course, is a massive signing in of itself, and I think that will genuinely happen, regardless of what that absolute prat Luke Edwards says, because Luke Edwards is still claiming that he was right about the whole Alexander Isak thing when he was completely wrong last year. I could go on and on and on about that absolute muppet for days, but I still think the Bruno Guimaraes stuff for Arsenal gets done. But it is kind of clear that they're after a winger. Another one, seemingly. And especially if obviously Martinelli does leave, that would only mean that their only left winger would be this new Greek fella that they've got coming in. I think they have to go all out for it. And if they get rejected in favour of Vinicius Jr. staying at Real Madrid, then they get rejected in favour of staying for Real Madrid. There's not really much shame in that. Even though some Arsenal fans do claim that they're the biggest and best club in the world, and it's not quite true. But if I had to put my money on it one way or another, I'd probably say that Vinicius Jr. does stay. I think he does stay at Madrid. I think he does leverage for a new contract. And because I can't see a world in which Real Madrid give him up on a free next year. So it either means he either signs a new deal or he gets sold this summer. And I think between the two, unless Real Madrid see that or believe that Vinicius Junior's best years are behind him and that maybe they can get better. Maybe Diamande is the way to go. Maybe Diamande on the right is the way to go and they need to get a new left winger or whatever the case may be. Vinicius Junior for me is staying. But again, I could be so wrong. And then I don't know who they turn their attention to. Like I say, Liverpool need to get this Bradley Barcola deal over the line so that there can be no worry about about any sort of hijack or any sort of misplay or any sort of 11th hour bid from Arsenal. That's the worry for me. Big up Dean every single time. Hope you're doing well, my bro. Lovely to have you here with us. Says morning flash. I'm very disappointed with Liverpool's transfer window. As am I, bro. It's been very, very quiet so far, and I'm hoping it picks up very, very soon. I always reserve judgment a little bit more because, as we know, a Liverpool transfer could come out the shadows at any moment. We like to do our work in secret behind the scenes. But so far, there's been very little. Even links to that Japanese midfielder whose name escapes me. I don't remember the name. I can't remember his name, but there was a Japanese midfielder. I believe he was in the Bundesliga that we were linked to. Even links have gone quiet on him. The only thing that we've got going for us right now, bro, is this Bradley Barcola stuff. And even then, that's not a given. That's not a formality. So we'll see. Hopefully, we spring into life very, very soon. But it's a very chalk and cheese window, isn't it? From what it was like last year. Last year, we were on here discussing a new Liverpool deal pretty much every week. But it's very different this year. So fingers crossed things do pick up. Big on Alf every single time. Hope you're doing well, my bro. Lovely to have you here with us. Guys, if you're not already, go and subscribe to Alf's channel. Doing some awesome stuff over there. Big Man City fan, of course. And he also does other content as well, especially when it comes to transfers. And obviously, I'm assuming the watch-alongs will again pick up in the new season. So go and subscribe to Alf's channel. There's something for everybody. Go and even if you're not a City fan or anything like that, go and broaden your footballing horizons by going to Alf City's channel, which I will drop in the chat. There we go. Where am I going? There we go. There we go. Link to our channel is now in the chat. Go and drop some love and some support over on his channel. Big up yourself, bro. I hope you're doing well on this Monday morning. Long time no see, my friend. That's the only reason why I think Arsenal will attack the Vinny Jr. with intent. It's a very, very good point. I think Arsenal are under this illusion that they need to make some sort of massive statement of intent after winning the league. And so, as you say, the Vinicius Junior deal, does make sense. And what a signing that would be. Does he necessarily fit in with how Arsenal's wingers currently do? Yes and no. Would he work to the effectiveness that Martinelli does? In terms of like his output, he would obviously have more. In terms of maybe his defensive contributions, I'm not saying he's lazy or anything, but I don't think it would work to the effectiveness of a Trossard or a Martinelli. So there might have to be a bit of compromise there on both sides. But it would obviously be massive. And it would be massive for both Arsenal and their fans if they were to go and get him. I say it just depends on what Real Madrid see in Vinicius Jr. for me. It really just does depend on whether or not they think Vinny's best days are behind him, whether or not they can convince him to sign a new deal. Because I can't see them going, you know what, we're going to go into the final year and we're going to take a massive risk that he's going to re-sign. I can't see it. Because I don't think Real Madrid are that club where they would risk losing a big name player on a free transfer when they could easily go and get 100 million for him right now. They could very easily get 100 million for the guy right now. Whether he's in the final year of his deal or not, in my opinion. So we shall see. We shall see. Big up. I'm gonna call you bro. I don't know. I'm sorry, that name has completely thrown me. My apologies, bro. I do apologize. But big up yourself, bro. Hope you're doing well. I'm assuming you're a Tottenham fan. Given your picture, you've got a bit quiet, haven't you? You started off this season like a lot of intent, and you've gone bang, 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 signing after signing after signing, real quickly. You got a bit quiet this past week or two. Where you been? Where you been? I'm joking. No, you've had an incredible transfer window so far, bro. You've had an incredible transfer window so far for Spurs, the likes of which I'm not used to. In all the time that I have been following football, I have not known a transfer window for Spurs like it. And yet here you are signing players left, right, and centre, and it doesn't look like you're going to stop. I reckon there are probably going to be one or two more through the door by the end of the transfer window. But yeah, you slowed down this past week or two. But big up yourself, my bro. Hope you're doing well on this Monday morning. Big up Gerson every single time. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Lovely to have you here. Says big up Fletch. Real Madrid are discussing a new long-term contract with Vinny's representatives this week. I mean, that was to be expected, I think. Like I say, I don't deny Arsenal are interested. I don't deny that Arsenal will try and pursue this deal, because you can't really go wrong, can you? Against Real Madrid, it's not like you're trying to sign someone from like Sunderland or something, and they're going to turn around and reject you in favour of joining Sunderland. Sorry for any Sunderland fans, I just picked your club out of a plethora of teams I could have done. But, you know, you go after a superstar from Real Madrid. If they reject you in favour of staying at Real Madrid, there's, you know, at least you showed fans that you had a sign of intent and you tried something, rather than, you know, go for someone that's considered lower than you and fail to get them or something along them lines. So there's no doubt in my mind as to why obviously Real Madrid would want to try and re-sign him. Like I say, I think it would mainly this potential deal, I should say, the likelihood of it happening would genuinely fall on whether or not Real Madrid decide he's worth keeping around. Like I say, debating whether his best days are behind him, debating whether or not he can continue, or whether it's just about the benefit of the club going forward. Maybe Vinicius Jr.'s usage in the squad would be to more so fetch a high transfer fee than it would be to actually play there anymore. So I wouldn't be surprised if in a week or two, or even in maybe even 2 or 3 weeks' time, we see that significant progress has been made for a new contract for Vinicius Jr. And then they can put this whole transfer saga to rest. But until that happens, Vinicius Jr.'s future at Real Madrid is very uncertain. So it is a very interesting talking point to obviously bring to the table. Speaking of watch-alongs, I'm currently making a thumbnail for my first watch-along of the season. Big up, bro. Love it. Love to hear that, my friend. And it's going to be an interesting season ahead. And the work never stops. And I like that. So big up yourself, my bro. Love that. Thank you as always for the shout-out. Anytime, bro. Anytime. Like I say, looking forward to seeing what you've got in store for us for the new season. With the Vinny situation, Vinny just wants more wages. That's it. Diomande is probably playing on the right. He is a right winger. Diomande is versatile enough that he could play off either wing. So if the Vinicius Junior deal obviously does happen to Arsenal, Real Madrid have at least got that sort of in the back of their mind that they could either play Diomande off one side or the other. So there is that. I know that maybe predominantly he wants that right side. But at the same time, like I say, it is versatile enough that he could play off one wing or the other. But you are right. In terms of the Vinicius Junior thing, I'm on the same thought path as you, my friend. I think that Vinicius Junior's situation is that he's using the Arsenal links to maybe get more money or a better deal overall in this scenario and situation at Real Madrid. I don't see him joining Arsenal. And that's not a knock on Arsenal or anything to do with that. Even though their fans deserve to be taken down a peg or two. Like, I'm not knocking Arsenal for what they've managed to build over these past several years. But at the same time, I still think, the pinnacle in at least Vinicius Junior's eyes is Real Madrid. And that's why he wants to stay there. That's why he obviously wants a better deal there. The only baffling thing for me, as I've said in this video already, is that I just can't believe a club like Real Madrid would have allowed a player like him to get their contract down to just the final year. That's the thing that's really sticking in my mind in this story. How have Real Madrid allowed... I mean, like I said, maybe there is a legitimate and genuine reason as to why this has happened. But I'm just a bit confused as to why 1 year left on Vinny's contract has been allowed to get to this level. It's something that I would expect my club to do, but we're idiots sometimes. Like I say, we did it with Trent, we did it with Konate, we did it with Van Dijk and Salah for a while before they eventually re-signed, but there was not always a guarantee that that was going to happen. That's the only part in this story where I'm a little bit confused. So, but you are right. You are right in what you're saying. For my club, I just think we need the attack sword, and I need Richarlison and Solanke out. They are rubbish, in my opinion. We are saving with Savinho when City want 80 million. There's a good Dutch winger you can have from my club if you want him. There's a very good Dutch winger, very, very good, very, very talented, full of quality. If you're looking at 80 million or 70 million for him, you can have Cody Gakpo. That's fine. Like, it'll be a massive loss for us, but you can have him. It's fine. Take Gakpo. Go and take him. Please take him. Please. I get it. I think you've done really well with the defense. I think Andy Robertson is a sensible signing. Van Hecke and Senesi are incredible signings. I was not expecting Spurs to make those two signings, but I think they work really, really well under De Zerbi. The Tonali thing was even bigger eyebrow raiser, I've got to admit. I've got to admit. That was a massive eyebrow raiser, but fair play for your club for doing it. And then Mateus Fernandez. I think maybe a little overpriced, but at the same time, I can understand why you'd go for it. That's some massive business. Like I say, and you are right again. I think you just need to sort the attack out. I think Solanke's okay as a backup, but if you can get someone that's going to be getting you about 20 to 25 goals next season, that's massive in all comps, by the way. Because if you can get some contributions from your wingers, that would be massive as well. So I think if you can get an upgrade, but you can keep Solanke in reserve, that would be a fantastic summer. And Alf actually agrees with your point. Actually, the only thing Spurs is lacking right now is a striker, to be honest. And again, you're both thinking along the same lines, and are both right in my opinion. I've never rated Richarlison. That's a well-known fact on this channel if you've been sticking around long enough. Never rated Richarlison. Solanke's been always hit and miss. But I do think he can do a job for you as a reserve or your backup striker, maybe. It's just going to be interesting to see if you've got a striker in mind. There's Krupi, but there's a massive risk because it's a high fee for a young player. I know he had an incredible breakout season last year for Bournemouth, but there's not really enough of a sample size there for me to say whether or not that deal is going to be one to genuinely pursue or not. I'm intrigued to know where you're going to go on this one. Because, like I say, I think the defense is solid. I think the midfield is fine and obviously been vastly improved with the signing of Tonali and the signing of Mateus Fernandez. It's just that attack. And if there is an available winger upgrade as well, I don't think you should be sniffing at that either, to be honest. But that's just me. I think for a player which has had a poor season, even if he it can be better. Yes, he has the quality, but his performances at City last season don't rectify the fee, even with this new transfer window. Savio has found it difficult to adapt. In this for City, should I say? Struggled for minutes, and when he has had the minutes, I don't think he's utilised them to his maximum potential. I'm unsure about Savio. I mean, I can see that there's something with him, but I don't know if he's genuinely the way to go or not. I don't know. I don't really like the Krupi link with my club. He is an okay player. He's had a half decent season at his age, but not worth 100 million. I want a number 9 that's proven and can give me goals consistently. And I 100% agree with you on that one. Like, as we're just saying, Krupi for me is one to definitely look out for. Yes. I word this. Krupi's definitely one to look out for, but it's Always difficult in this situation to know whether or not a player is legitimate, just had a really good season, or is like a one season wonder. It's very difficult to work that out, whether or not it was just how the chips fell that season. Is it a one season wonder thing? Was it the manager? Was it the players around him? Was it just because no one's heard of him before, so no one really knew who this kid was, or no one really done their homework on the kid, which made him kind of like a bit of a wild card and made defenders kind of like second guess themselves going up against him. It's an interesting one. It is very much interesting to see where Kroupy falls. I think for me, you should abandon the Kroupy thing. I think for me, you should abandon the Kroupy pursuit and focus for the here and now. The upside is that you don't have Champions League football or any kind of European football for this season. That could be a blessing in disguise. So you're only playing one game a week. You get more time on the training ground to adapt to the training and the way that obviously De Zerbi wants to play. So you get all of that in abundance. For me, but the thing is, in saying that, if Kroupy has another excellent season, who's to say that his price tag won't double? This is the gamble you've got to think of. Like, you can go for 80 million now, and if he has another great season, you're thinking, wow, we've got one hell of a player on our hands here. Or you can leave him there and go, we'll take a risk that he's not going to be worth it. A year's time, his price tag doubles. This is the gamble you've got. And he's got 4 years left on his current deal with Bournemouth. So Bournemouth are in the driving seat when it comes to negotiations right now. I say it's an interesting one. I would go, like you said, with someone that is more guaranteed, because the overall goal next season must be to get back into European football of some kind. Europa League is a minimum, I would say. And to be fair, I think with only having one game a week, with De Zerbi, with the players you've got, and if obviously, like we say, you make that signing of a killer up front, yeah, you'll get there. I think you'll get there. No, Gakpo is frustrating. I know a Liverpool fan. He is my bro, and Gakpo infuriates him. I know how Gakpo is a one-dimensional player, Mr. Cut in and shoot. No, not at all. He's not like that at all. Gakpo is amazing. Gakpo is outstanding. Gakpo, he scores goals every so often. He'll assist every so often. Links up play really, really well. Does all these other things as well. He's not one-dimensional at all. No. Definitely worth the 75 million that you definitely want to pay us. Definitely worth the 75 million that you're willing to put that to, and definitely worth the 75 million plus Mickey van der Ven that you want to give Liverpool. Definitely, right? You definitely want that to happen. You definitely want that to happen. Like, honestly, you won't be sorry at all when you give us Van der Ven and 75 million. You definitely want to do that. Honestly, don't know where this guy gets his information from about Gakpo. Definitely not true. Nicola Trasoldi is what Alf says here. Yes, Alf is Club Bruges. Alf is Club Bruges, so knows a lot more than I do about that particular person. So, I can't say I know too much about him, to be honest, but Alf will probably drop some more information on him than I would. The Nigerian striker, I think I would go for him. He would want big wages, but he is worth it for what I've seen. Only two wingers I would want at Liverpool. The Italian guy, can't remember his name, and you guys wouldn't sell. You're talking about Chiesa. You're talking about Chiesa. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we're gonna. I mean, our squad is wafer thin as it is. Like, we can't really afford to sell anybody. Federico, yeah, we can't really afford to sell anybody. But you know, that's what happens when your squad is so paper thin right now. I'm worried for next season for us, to be honest. I am so worried about next season for us. Ugh. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. The 60 million for Savio would be better decision. I'll go as low as 60 as well. I mean, I know I just said our squad is paper thin, but I'll take 60 million for Gakpo. We bought him for about 40, so we'd at least be making some profit. But your club won 80. Yeah, the Savio one's going to be interesting. City seemingly want to get rid, but they've got very little to no takers on that 80 million front. He scores goals and links up well. All you need from a striker, to be honest. Fair enough. Federico. I mean, get Barcola and send us Federico. I love Federico. I love Chiesa. I love his chant. I love the player he is. I rated him when he was at Juventus as well. I really hope that his because the only problem with Chiesa is his fitness. That's the only issue with Chiesa is his fitness. Is his fitness going to hold out long enough for him to play a string of games together? That's the only problem with him. Otherwise, he's brilliant. I like him. I like him a lot. And I really hope that Areola can keep him and make him a part of our squad again, and maybe give him some more game time here and there. But it's going to be interesting to see what he does with Chiesa, to be honest, and what the overall plan is. If my club can pull off to sell Bergvall for 16 plus million, that would be a steal. How is everybody better at selling players than we are, by the way? If you're actually going to sell Bergvall for 60 million, which I think is a very, very good, I think he's a decent player. I can see that a lot of people are seemingly divided on Bergvall. Some people see the hype around him, and some people don't. I rate Bergvall. I think he's all right. I genuinely think he's all right, and I think if he goes to like a Nottingham Forest or if he goes to a Newcastle, I think that would be really good business for them. But how is everybody so good at selling players and we're not? I don't get it. We are so terrible at selling players now. It's almost like we sold Coutinho like just under a decade ago. We sold Coutinho and then went, right, that's it. We don't need to sell anybody now anymore. What? We are so bad at selling players. There was talk earlier on this summer that we were going to be selling Curtis Jones for about 30 million. In a market which Elliot Anderson's gone for 116, Morgan Rogers has gone for 117, Mateus Fernandez has gone for 85, Bournemouth won 80 for Alex Scott. In that particular market, we're talking Curtis Jones for 30 million. Why? You could easily double the price on Curtis Jones at the very least. We are idiots. We are absolute morons. Not that I want Curtis Jones to be sold, by the way. I don't want Curtis Jones to be sold. I think he can. I think he can have a place in Areola's team. But I'm just saying that should push comes to shove, and if he wants to leave, why are we getting rid of him for 30 odd million? It makes no sense to me. Completely stupid. That's 60 plus for a player I don't really rate. Also, and he could do good. Understand a different club. Do good for a different club. Like I said, I think he'd be perfect for like a Newcastle or a Nottingham Forest, especially when you consider that Forest have just sold Elliot Anderson. I know they're bringing in that Diamande, he's more centre back, I would say, than DM, but he can play DM. But Bergvall in that Forest side would actually cook. I think he'd actually cook. Forest are one to watch next season, by the way. Forest are, again, one to watch next season, especially under Glasner. Glasner ball, with the players that they've signed, I think Forest is certainly one to watch. We sold a young centre-back to United for 8 million. You've done well on the sellings front. The thing I would be a bit hit and miss about, though, that Vuskovic. I think that Vuskovic is... I think he's going to be really, really good. I think he's going to be really, really good. And especially with Brighton as well. Brighton do their homework extensively. So if you're selling a player to Brighton, you know you've got a really good player there, in my opinion. I wish we'd signed Gibbs White. I still find it weird you didn't. I still find it weird you didn't. I still find it weird that you didn't sign it. You hit the release clause, and then you backed off because you must have broke the law somewhere along the line. Because otherwise, he would have gone, right? He would have gone. I know the Forest owner didn't want him to go, but at the same time, you hit the release clause. So the only thing that can happen in that situation for the transfer to fall through is if Gibbs White turns around to you and goes, "No, I don't want to go." So that's the only thing I can think, or obviously if you decide to pull out and do a U-turn on it. The only thing that I can think of as to why that move did not happen is because when they threatened you with the whole you got that information on the inside without us releasing it, and you obtained it through some sort of illegal way. That's the only thing I can think of as to why that happened. That's the only thing I can think of as to why that happened, because they threatened you with legal action. You backed out because you were scared that, we've actually broke the law here. So you backed off, and then before you know it, Gibbs White has the most weirdest contract re-signing ever. The most weirdest announcement for a new deal ever, with the owner stood in the corner like some mafia boss, basically holding his family at as hostage if he didn't sign it. So weird. But we have Captain Maddison. Xavi is injured. I won't be surprised if Maddison gets injured within 5 minutes, to be honest. Maddison as captain, though, is interesting. But then again, who else are you going to put? Because you've got a relatively... You could have given it to Porro, I guess. But yeah, Maddison as captain is very interesting. I would go for Yildiz, but Juventus would want a lot. Yeah, I mean, you talk... He was someone that was very, very hyped up about going into this transfer window, wasn't he? He was someone that a lot of people want. Well, a lot of clubs wanted. and someone that was being very much talked about as being something like a next big thing kind of thing. And then all of a sudden, like, things have kind of died down a little bit on the Yildiz front. I guess it was the price tag that seemingly put everybody off because, again, PSG were interested, Liverpool were interested. I think Real Madrid were at some point, but it does seem like the price tag has really put off a lot of clubs. Vuskovic, he wanted first team football, and De Zerbi didn't see him in his plans. That's understandable. That is understandable as to why that is. I still think he's going to be a quality defender, though. From what I've seen of him and what I saw of him, I don't follow German football as well as I used to these days, but from what I saw of him last year a little bit, he's got all the makings. He's got all the tools to be a quality defender. A 20% sell-on fee for him. It's not bad. It's not bad, especially because we all know that Brighton are very good at turning a profit. So that's some smart business right there. Forest owner didn't want him to go. Yeah. Marinakis is crazy. Somehow we found out his release clause, so I don't know. That was just weird. Because here's the thing. It's not, because obviously you've got to remember, Daniel Levy was obviously in charge at the time. So it's not like you would have haggled. No, sorry. It's not like you wouldn't have haggled. You would have haggled, of course, because we all know that Daniel Levy, penny pincher, would have just tried to save $1 million or $2 million here and there. So if you were to tell him the release clause was 60 million, I guarantee you he would have gone, here's 58. Like, just pay the extra 2 million and have him. You know what I mean? So it seems highly unlikely that Daniel Levy would have hit the release clause intentionally. He would have had to have done that accidentally, because he's built up that reputation for himself. But if he did that, why did he then back out of it? That's the bit that confuses me. So it must have been that for the first time ever in Daniel Levy's history of dealing with transfers at Spurs, he must have actually heard the information about Morgan Gibbs-White's release clause and then gone out and actually went, you know what, 60 million? Here's the money for it. Because otherwise, why would you have backed out? That's the thing I don't get. Why would you have backed out? Funny enough, Gibbs-White still wants to move. I think after last year, it's understandable as to why. It's going to be interesting. Like I say, I still think Forest is someone that needs to be looked at for next season. Definitely wants to look out for. I think because Turkey had a poor World Cup, why clubs backed off. Never judge a player on a World Cup, whether good or bad. Never, ever judge a player on a World Cup. Turkey's problem was that they couldn't score goals. They couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. They created loads. Of chances. They just couldn't take them. But regardless, never judge a player on a World Cup. Liverpool fans know that more so than most. But never judge a player based on a World Cup. Just saying. Bruno Fernandes had a shocking World Cup. I still think a lot of clubs will take him. A lot of those Portugal players had poor World Cups, to be fair. A lot of people would still take the likes of João Neves and Vitinha. Never, ever judge a player based off a poor World Cup. Gomez needs his contract terminated. Big up, Don, every single time. Lovely to have you here, my bro. Hope you're doing well. The guy can't catch a break, can he? The guy seriously cannot catch a break. 7 minutes. That's all it took. 7 minutes for him to go off injured. in the friendly against Sunderland. Oh, bless him. It's so sad because he is a good defender. He is a very good defender. But you don't get to see it on a regular basis because the guy can't go for longer than at least a game or two without getting injured. And in this case, he didn't even survive one game. It's so Joe Gomez, though, isn't it? It's so Joe Gomez. But here's a problem that we got ourselves in, bro. We have 4 defenders going into this season. We have 4 centre-backs going into this season, should I say. One of them is a 35-year-old Virgil van Dijk. Ever present. But there are going to be question marks over whether or not he can still do what he normally does. Now, he was very good in the World Cup, but as I just said, don't judge a player based on his World Cup. He had a poor season last year. I think most of that was down to how Arne Slot left him exposed. We had no midfield to protect him. He was left exposed a number of times. Yes, when called upon, he messed up so much. He messed up so much when his decision-making in certain aspects. So there are going to be question marks about Van Dijk. Cool. Happy with that. Understandable because he's 35 years of age. Then you look at our next defender, Leone. The guy isn't going to be back until probably September. He's been a year out with injury. He's lost a year of his development. Will he come back the same player? Only time will tell. Will he continue to kick on as the prospect and the potential that he showed when he was in Italy? Only time will tell. Again, massive question mark over him. Then we have this new kid, Jeremy Jacquet, who, by all intents and purposes, looks really, really good. A lot of potential, a lot of promise to him. But again, he's a kid who's going to be playing his first season in the Premier League this year. Big question marks over him. And then our 4th is Joe Gomez, who cannot stay fit for longer than, in this situation, 7 minutes to actually play a full game. Our squad is worrying right now. Really, really worrying right now. So when I see the likes of Jean-Paul Van Hecke go to Tottenham, as we were mentioning earlier, for about 50-odd million, and I'm sat here wondering, why the hell weren't we involved? I'm sat here looking at my club sit on their hands in this transfer window whilst everybody else is seemingly trying to make moves or is making moves. I sit here and I question, what the hell are we doing? What on God's earth are we doing? We are leaving this manager out to dry. We gave 500 million to Arne Slot last season and more if you technically count the Jacquet deal that was done in January. What are we doing? What are we doing? I don't get it. Gomez getting injured first game of the season. That's it's not random, bro. It's to be expected. With all due respect, it's to be expected now. I love Joe Gomez. I hope to God one day he can put his injuries behind him. But the guy is just so injury prone. So injury prone. Plus his only goal he scored for Liverpool is an own goal. I really hope one day he can change that. I really hope one day he can change that. But we'll never know. We'll never know. Big up Big Smoke, who's in the building. Lovely to have you here with us. Hope you're doing well, my bro. Hope you're doing good on this Monday morning. He says that we ain't getting Vinny, Leao, or Rashford is nasty work. Just sign Rodrigo and pray he balls out after his ACL recovery. It's an interesting one. It's a very, very interesting take to have. But I agree with the first bit. I don't see you getting Vinicius Jr. I think it is worth a conversation, but I don't think he is going to be leaving Real Madrid this summer. Leao or Rashford, though, that's an interesting one. I don't rate Rafael Leao. So by all means, go and take him. By all means, from this Liverpool fan, as someone that doesn't rate Rafael Leao, I'm prepared to maybe be wrong on this, but I doubt I am. Go and take Rafael Leao. I do not rate Leao one bit. The Rashford one, though, is interesting. Now, do I think Rashford would leave for another top Premier League club? If desperation became something that happened with Marcus Rashford, then maybe. However, Romano's just stated that Andrea Pirlo is the new Italy manager, has been called off. So Italy have gone from Pep Guardiola to Andrea Pirlo, and now they're going to be looking for another candidate, it seems. Interesting times for the Italian Football Federation. I got sidetracked. The Rashford one could be interesting. I think, let's say Rashford was open to joining Arsenal. I think that is something that is possibly worth taking a punt on, you know. I think Rashford would be worth taking a punt on. Even if it's like a loan with an option to buy at the end of the season, I think Rashford could be worth taking a punt on. Or am I just crazy in saying that? I think if worst case scenario, you don't get him, you don't get Barcola, you don't get this player, you don't get that player. I think Rashford on a loan with an option to buy would not be a bad signing to go down. Isn't Rodrigo still injured? Yeah, it's between you two. Yeah, pure wingers with high fee. My contract with Portugal is over now. The GOAT has retired from the ungrateful country. Ronaldo fan. Okay, fair play. We need to buy we need a centre back. We need a right back. We need a DM. We need a striker. We need a winger. Maybe two wingers. Yeah, we need a lot, bro. We need a lot, and we're seemingly sat on our hands doing nothing. So if someone would like to explain to me why that is, I would be all ears. But I can't understand why we are being so slow in this transfer window. I don't get it. You've got Spurs out there making moves. You've got Manchester United making moves. Chelsea making moves. Chelsea make moves, but they normally are youngsters that are that have got a lot of potential, a lot of promise. Ones that we've never heard of before. But no, this year they decided Morgan Rogers, yeah. Lacroix, yeah. That's another one, by the way. I said about Van Hecker. Why haven't we gone in for like Lacroix or something? Make it make sense. We need a centre-back. I'm not confident with the four that we have. Why don't we go for one of the most consistent defenders that has been in the game for the past couple of years? Explain that one to me. I absolutely want Ndai. Oh, the Everton winger. Bit hit and miss for me. He's a bit hit and miss, but I can at least understand the sort of appeal. Arnie Slot is a scam artist, so Diaz, Kwanzaa loaned out Elliott, then spent millions on two strikers and a 10, then replaced Trent with a right wing back. FIFA career mode signings. I mean, at least we get Elliott back. So I'm hoping Areola can do something with Elliott this season, and maybe Elliott can be brought back into the fold and actually do well. That's my hope for Harvey Elliott. Either that or Harvey Elliott secures a big move elsewhere and goes on to have a rather successful career, because I really do rate Harvey Elliott. Selling Diaz wanted to move. I can understand that. Kwanzaa, he never liked Kwanzaa from the beginning. The first half against Luton in his first game of the season 2 years ago stated that he did not like Kwanzaa one bit. The only upside with Kwanzaa is that we get a release clause that becomes active at the end of next season. So if Kwanzaa still is doing really well in Germany and Leipzig, we apparently get a release clause, like a buyback clause, that we can trigger next summer. So keep an eye out for the Kwanzaa thing. So that might be interesting. The two strikers were obviously needed. A number 10 was needed. I'm hoping for big seasons from both Isak and Wirtz this year, especially under Areola, a manager who might actually know what he's got rather than, being under a manager who basically brought them in and then went, one of the most creative outlets in the whole of Europe. Let's play you on the left. One of the most deadly strikers in the Premier League. Let's give you no service. So I'm hoping for better next season. Let's put it that way. I'm hoping for much better next season when it comes to the ones that actually were bought. Because God only knows how painful last season was. I'm hoping for better. Really am hoping for better. Big up Nems, who's in the building. Hope you're doing well, my bro. Lovely to have you here with us. Hope you're doing well on this Monday morning. Long time no see, my friend. Hope everything's okay with you. It's good news on Barcola, I guess. Yes, that does actually bring us rather nicely to the Bradley Barcola stuff. The news yesterday from Fabrizio Romano states, breaking. Bradley Barcola will not sign a new deal at PSG. The decision is confirmed. As always, reported he's open to exploring a new move this summer and will not sign a new contract. Liverpool have Barcola on top of their list. So that is incredible news to those that are pursuing Bradley Barcola. Liverpool mainly, of course. But again, he's had links with Arsenal as well. And depending on how the Vinicius Jr. deal and situation goes, Arsenal could turn their attention to Barcola at any given moment. There's been talk that Barcola seemingly would prefer Liverpool over Arsenal. But again, that's talk. There's no real credible source that is seemingly suggesting that right now. It seems like Liverpool are in pole position. Liverpool are leading the race and all of that kind of stuff. But we've seen hijackings. And we've seen, things not quite work out this summer as we expected and in previous summers as well. The interesting part, though, is, again, the talk of contracts. And if Fabrizio Romano is stating the truth, which I have no doubt, his sources... Can I just say, by the way, Fabrizio this summer has been on smoke. This summer, Fabrizio has seemingly been on smoke. This guy is seemingly... He's not going to get everything right. He's not 100%. Nobody is. Unless you've got a crystal ball, unless you're psychic, you're not going to get everything right, but Fabrizio this season has been awesome in most of the stuff that he's got right. So, again, I'm giving this more credibility and legitimacy than most. If what he's saying is telling the truth and that Barcola is definitely not going to re-sign a new deal, 2 years left on his current deal. 2 years left for Barcola at PSG. Now, for me, I think PSG need a little bit of a shake-up. I think if they really want to go for a three-peat in the Champions League, they're going to need a bit of a shake-up of their squad. Because as good as what they are, as talented as what they are, and as full of quality as what they are, it is unlikely that you go a third straight year with pretty much the same squad without shaking it up a little bit to go and be successful. Like, of course, they should be successful in their domestic league. That's pretty much a given. But if they want to be successful again in the Champions League, I'm saying right now that they may need to shake a couple of things up. They're still going to be favourites, of course they are, because of how good they are. But if they want to be a three-peat Champions League winner, they need to shake things up a little bit. And maybe, Diamande was going to be a big part of that. It'll be interesting to see where they go from here without Diamande. Who do they bring in? Do maybe they turn their attention, as we were talking about earlier, to Yildiz? Did maybe they go back to him? That could be a possibility. Have they got someone else maybe on their radar that they're keeping tabs on? Only time will tell. There could also be other positions that they might want to look at reinforcing. That could be something that they're looking at as well. Going to be interesting summer for PSG. But the Barcola stuff, like I say, is very intriguing because he's not going to be re-signing a new deal. PSG have got 2 years left on his current deal. So not as tight as, say, the Vinicius Junior saga and situation, but still 2 years to maybe get as much out of him as possible if he's not going to re-sign. Now you can maybe keep him a year, see if he changes his mind. But again, is he going to be okay playing second fiddle to Desiree Doué? That seems to be, for both club and country, the player that Barcola's seemingly behind. That's why the common substitution for both club and country, again, is Doué off, Barcola on. And if Barcola does start, 9 times out of 10, it's Barcola off and Doué on. They very rarely seemingly start together for club or for country. So is Barcola going to be okay with playing second fiddle to him? Is he going to be okay with a more bench sort of role? Only time will tell. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not he forces a move, whether or not he decides to play it the more respectful way. But I hope we get him. And I shouldn't be saying this. I shouldn't be saying that I hope Liverpool get him. But it does rather seem, and I don't know how we've come to this point, but it does seem that Liverpool Football Club are putting a lot of their hopes and a lot of their eggs, shall we say, in the Bradley Barcola basket for this summer. Whereas last year it was like, Wirtz, we want him, we're going to go get him. Isak, we want him, we're going to go get him. Frimpong, we want him, we're going to go get him. Ekatike, Newcastle want him. Well, you best give us Isak then, otherwise we're going to go get him. Oh, look at that, we went and got him anyway. So different to last summer, as I've already stated before. But it seems that this year, because the winger market is so poor, a lot of our hopes is resting on Bradley Barcola. And I'm not happy with that. I'm really not happy with that. But it's necessary. It's necessary. We need the guy. Because the alternative after Barcola is someone that I don't even want to think about who the alternative is. Well, apparently the alternative, I've just thought about him, so I might as well bring it up now, is seemingly Yakuba Minta. I'm not happy about that. Is any Liverpool fan happy about that? Is anybody happy about that? I mean, does it even have to be Liverpool in this situation? If you were told that you were going to either get a player of you're either going to get a player of Barcola's quality and potential, or you're going to get Minte, I guarantee you that 95% of people would probably go for Barcola. I'm not happy with potentially signing Minte as a backup, as an alternative. I'm not happy with that. I don't think a lot of Liverpool fans would be either. But that's how bad the wingers market is right now. That is how poor the wingers market is. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm hoping to God that we sign Barcola, because I don't want to know what we're going to do otherwise. I really don't know what we're going to do otherwise. I mean, we've been sat on our hands for most of this transfer window as it is. We've been sat doing nothing for most of the transfer window as it is. So imagine that we don't get our top target. Imagine that we do not get our top target. What the hell are we going to do after that? Probably spend another 6 months to think about what we're going to do. This transfer window has been planned so poorly. So poorly. And the only reason why I'm not completely losing it right now is because there's always with Liverpool more so than anybody else, there's always the potential the potential that a deal will come out of nowhere and it will shock everyone. With Liverpool, it's more likely than most other teams, I would say. There's always a potential. I mean, look at the Victor Munoz deal as an example. Now, that wasn't like groundbreaking or earth-shaking, but it was still a deal that came out of nowhere. And Liverpool always have that potential. And I would say rather safely that if any team is going to do it, it would be Liverpool. That's the only slim reason why I am not completely losing my mind right now. Don't get me wrong. I'm a bit nervous. I'm a bit concerned. I'm a bit worried. But the only reason why I'm keeping sane, and the only reason why I'm sort of keeping a sense of decorum and a sense of calm about it, is because if there is going to be a team to get stuff done behind the scenes and then spring it on the journalists out there to push the news out, mainly Fabrizio, because as I've said time and time again, Ornstein might have the benefit of being a main Premier League journalist. But I tell you one thing, he is useless when it comes to Liverpool talk. Like, it's if you want to know anything that's going on with Liverpool, go to Romano. Romano knows more about what's going on with Liverpool than what Ornstein does. And I don't know whether that's planned that way. I don't know whether that's a planned thing by the club, or whether it's planned by the people in the know or whatever. But Ornstein has no idea what's going on with Liverpool. Ornstein was under the impression that Liverpool was still going to keep Arne Slot. And Romano was saying, it's likely to be Slot right now, but it's not a guarantee. And then when it all came out that, Slot was going to be leaving and Andoni Iraola was coming in, guess who was first on that? Romano. So follow more Romano than Ornstein for all things to do with Liverpool. But at the same time, like I say, I'm reserving a little bit of judgment. But as time ticks away, days count down to the beginning of the season. I mean, we are. We're like 3.5 weeks away from the beginning of the season, We are 3.5 weeks away from the beginning of the season, and our squad is nowhere near ready to compete. Our squad is nowhere near ready to compete. That is a worry for me. But at the same time, I know that we can get 2 or 3 deals done between now and then. If it comes to the night before the transfer window, the night before the beginning of the season, and we've still not done anything, that's when I'll lose my mind. That is when I will lose my mind. I'm good, thanks, and you. I'm good, bro. I hope you're doing well as well. Glad that you're with us. Liverpool need a Fabinho type player. Yeah, we've been needing a Fabinho type player since his legs had gone a few years ago. We've definitely needed a DM. And I was really hoping that that DM would be Adam Wharton this year. But apparently, links have cooled there as well. So I don't know what we're planning. I really don't know what we're planning. We need to book up our ideas in midfield. But we've not been linked with any midfielders, apart from, as I said at the top of the video, the Japanese midfielder whose name still escapes me. I don't know what we're doing. I genuinely don't know what we're doing. We need better. We need better. Watch Real Madrid get smoked by Adeyemi and Gordon. Barcelona moving mad in this transfer window. You know, that Barcelona team, the Barcelona club that was seemingly in financial ruin not so long ago. It's amazing how things work out, isn't it? Morning, my man. Hughes should have left with Slot at the same time. How can you have a man in charge of transfers, but his mind is in Saudi? Big up, Tony, every single time. Hope you're doing well, my bro. Well, it's not like this is a surprise to anyone. I mean, there was talk about this happening before the transfer window happened, before even the end of the season happened. There was talk that allegedly Richard Hughes was going to be leaving the club at the end of the transfer window. So what the hell has he done? What the hell has he done? Okay, he went and got his Verts. All right. He went and got his Isaac. They still played with their food when it came to signing them. And not only that as well, but the guy's been here since Slot was here. In the first transfer window, he did nothing. In the first transfer window, he got us Mamadashvili for the following season and then gave him 10 million to spend on Chiesa, who Slot didn't even use pretty much for the majority of the season. And then in the following season, he goes, here's 500 million to spend. Where's that money this year? We need it more so this year. Need it more than ever this year. Our best player has walked out the door because you guys couldn't make up your minds whether to keep Slot or not. And then when you decided to get rid of Slot, the guy was already like, well, I've already gone. If you'd have probably told me about a month or two earlier, I might have stayed. But our best players just walked out the door, which again kind of goes hand in hand with the way that seemingly someone at the football club wanted Mo Salah out of the club, as he stated in his interview back in November, if you remember. Our best players walked out. Our second best player is an aging 35-year-old centre-back. We have got issues in all areas with our defence being so paper thin, you can cut it with a knife. Joe Gomez is injured again. Jeremy Frimpong is probably one more sprint away from being injured again. Connor Bradley is disappeared off the face of the planet with his injury. Tsimikas is back. But the only reason why he's back is because they probably don't want to spend money on a left back. So by default, he is back. Our midfield, there's so many question marks over whether or not McAllister and Gravenberch are going to be okay for this season that I'm terrified of that. Harvey Elliott's back, which is good. But again, I don't know if I don't necessarily know where he'll fit in. You want to know what the scariest thing for me is? Our right winger next season, other than maybe putting Munoz on that side, might be Jeremy friggin' Frimpong, or it might be Harvey Elliott. And our problem last year was we had no pace on the wings. Well, in Frimpong, we'll have pace but no end product. And in Harvey Elliott, we'll have end product but with no pace. Why can't we combine the two together? Why can't we combine the two together? It is crazy, bro. It's absolutely crazy what we're going through this summer. Vinny to Arsenal would just be the watered-down version of Neymar to PSG. Miss me with these PR superstar footballers. Give Juve what they want for Yildiz and finalise the Bruno G signing. I mean, either way, that would be a quality transfer window for Arsenal, especially just Bruno Guimaraes alone, I think would be insane. But yeah, one of Yildiz or Vinny would be still really, really good. We still need a versatile centre back and fullback and a shadow striker, by the way. I don't know why we don't go for Konza. Would that be crazy? Konza at Aston Villa? You can play fullback. You can play centre back. Would that be? Am I crazy for just pulling that name out of thin air? I don't think I am. But our centre back issue wouldn't be a problem if last year we'd have just gone and got Gahey. If we were going to go for Jacquet in January anyway to bring him in for the summer, why didn't we just go and get Gahey anyway? Why did we mess around and not just lay the money on the table right off the bat? Why did we wait till the final day of the transfer window to go, oh, here's the money for Gahey. Oh, what? You don't want to let him go anymore? All right, then. We'll come back in January. Except we won't come back in January. We'll just let him walk free to Manchester City for 15 million less than what we were originally going to pay him for. Brain damage. Window being slow for everyone. No, for certain clubs it hasn't. Spurs been moving mad. Chelsea been moving mad. Man United hit and miss. But we need it more than everybody else. That's the point. We need to move more than anybody else, especially more than anyone in the big six anyway. We don't know about Jones. Yeah, Jones is another one as well. Jones is another one. When's Ekatike coming back? The chances is that he'll be back. I think he'll be back in training, obviously, around about November, December. But I think, obviously, by the time he builds his fitness up, and obviously, depending on how other injuries go, because it's very common that other injuries do occur. When you're out for so long with other injuries, obviously. I think it'll probably be about January, February time before we see him back. I reckon it'll be around about that time before we see Ekatike come back into the fold. Come get Romero offers for 65 million. Mate, I'd rather drink bleach. I would rather drink bleach than have Romero anywhere near my football club. If it was the Romero that plays for Argentina, I might consider it. But we know it's not. And even then, I still would say no. But no, definitely not. Definitely not. Definitely not. I'd rather play Gakpo centre-back. I would rather play Gakpo centre-back than have that guy anywhere near my club. He is disciplined player, hardly gets cards. I've had a taste of my own medicine because I tried to flog Gakpo onto your lot. I rate it. I rate it. Klopp left and the board forgot how to build a squad. I'm not saying Klopp was perfect because no one's like properly perfect. But the club had a plan and identity when he was in charge. Now we don't seem to have a plan. We can't even keep a sporting director for longer than 2 seasons. Lost our way this past year. Lost our way completely. December, well, Isak is also injury prone. Yeah. So our second choice striker is either between Cody Gakpo or Federico Chiesa. Both of which I wouldn't say are strikers. Chiesa more so than Gakpo, but I wouldn't say they're proper strikers, but they're our second choice strikers between now and when Ekitike comes back. And here's the problem as well. The injury that Ekitike has, 9 times out of 10, the player doesn't come back the same. The player loses so much of themselves in that injury. The player loses a lot of potential, a lot of promise, and a lot of what they had when they went into that injury with. So there's no telling whether or not Ekitike is going to come back the same player or a better player. The chances is that he's going to be slightly less of himself in that role after that injury. So as unfortunate as what it is, the injury and everything, we're going into a season in which Isak could very well get injured on the first game of the season against, conveniently, Newcastle, by the way. Imagine that. The Newcastle fans will be having a field day. He could get injured on the first day against Newcastle, and we could be without a proper striker for God knows how long because we didn't plan ahead. And it's not for the first time that Liverpool do this either. Liverpool have done this time and time and time again over the years. We're not forward thinking. We don't have the foresight. We basically are more reactionary than, what the hell is the alternative again? Then we're more reactionary than what is the word? Why is the word escaped me? Oh my God, this is embarrassing. This is actually embarrassing. We're reactionary. That's basically my point. We don't think things through. We don't look at the problems from afar and go, we need to deal with this now, otherwise that's going to be a massive problem. We suffer with the problem and then we go, you know what? Let's react to it now. Why? You know, like Man City go out there and they go get Gahey because they can see that they've got issues defensively. So they go out there and they go and get Gahey because it's the smart thing to do. They see that the winger market isn't very good. So they go out and they get Semenyo whilst he's available, whilst it's a smart decision to make because it's the smart thing to do. We see that we've got 4 defenders, all of which have got huge problems and question marks and issues, and we don't do anything about it because it's the dumb thing to do. Chelsea signed Morgan Rogers. Liverpool is kicking rocks. Absolutely. Positively on that one. Romero is a very good player. I'm not buying it, bro. I'm not buying it. He is good, but he wouldn't be what Liverpool want. I would take Van Dijk on 1 leg than I would Romero on 2. He is a harsh player. Bro, I lost my head when he's split Casemiro in half and got sent off. And that's why I don't want the guy, because the guy is crazy. The guy is crazy. I mean, take when he got sent off against us back in December. If he hadn't got sent off, there's a good chance that the 10 men of Tottenham could have actually got back into that game, because Tottenham were better than us in that game. We managed to come out of it with the win somehow. But there's a good chance that with 10 men, Romero cost them that game. Just an update on Bradley Barcola, by the way. The Times in England are reporting that PSG have placed a £145 million price tag on Bradley Barcola amidst interest from both Liverpool and Arsenal. The French champion's valuation has been influenced by the recent transfer fees paid for both Morgan Rogers and Elliot Anderson. PSG are standing firm on Barcola's asking price as Premier League interest continues to grow. So that is news from the Times on Bradley Barcola to Liverpool or Arsenal or anybody else that attempts to sign him. £145 million. Now, I obviously think that can be negotiated down, but that's seemingly where they're looking at. Now, for someone who's got 2 years on their current deal, and according to Romano, is not going to be re-signing, that's a bold move by PSG. However, what I will say is, looking at the wingers market as it is, I'd go for Barcola, regardless of the price, because we definitely need a winger. And I'm a bit worried that we're not going to get one. And if we do get one, it's going to either be one that is going to be just the wrong move completely, or it's going to be some sort of 18-year-old gamble. So read into that what you will. Why would you go Stutzle? Because it's Romero and he's absolutely mental. He's absolutely mental. Big up. I'm going to put big up Harry. Hope you're doing well, my bro. Lovely to have you here with us. I hope you're doing well on this Monday morning, my friend. Romero is too much of a hothead. Yeah. Agreed. I like Diamande, a centre-back for Sporting. I think he's going to Nottingham Forest, isn't he? I think that's a really good move by Forest. I think that is a really, really good move by Forest if they manage to pull that one off. Gets a lot of yellow cards, though. Does get a lot of yellow. If memory serves me correctly, he does get quite a few yellow cards. So just making a mental note of that for betting. Romero makes normal tackles look difficult. Very, very true. Not going to lie, Yakuba Minta is a Klopp signing. Maybe a little. I don't even know anymore. I don't even know. If only Grealish was 3 years younger. I mean, you're after it when he was at Aston Villa, wasn't he? He didn't want to pay the money. Bit of a reoccurring story, that, isn't it, for Spurs? And now you're actually paying the money. So Daniel Levy was the problem. Watch PSG go sign a cheaper, better winger. FIFA got to do something about these fees. It's not about fees. It's just doing your homework. it's just doing your homework. How come Brighton can sell a player for big money and not panic, and then go and get a cheap player from like Zimbabwe or wherever, and go, yeah, we'll pay you like 5 million for him, and then we're going to sell him for like 80 million in about 2 years' time? Like, do your research, do your due diligence. It's the whole point why you have scouts. I'm convinced the higher you go as a scout, in terms of what team, the better team you're at, the more lazy you are as a scout. I'm convinced. Because how come Brighton and teams like that can find players at will? They can go, right, here's our starting 11, here's our reserves. If we are to sell this player, we've got about 5 different players that can replace him within our own setup, or in terms of transfers that are not going to cost an arm and a leg. How come Brighton can do that, and yet we just go, that Elliot Anderson's good, isn't he? Yeah, I'll add him to the list. Elliot Anderson. And that's me done for the day. I'll see you all again tomorrow. We'll scout someone else. Oh, Morgan Rogers for Aston Villa. He's also really good. Morgan Rogers. I'll see you all again tomorrow. That's me done for the day. Go out there. Go into the world and find the next big thing. Rather than just make the easy signings, or make the easy list of potential signings, should I say. But yeah, that's apparently what scouts do at big clubs. They don't go and find the next big thing. They go and they try and take from a team that is considered less than them. But when they do make it to the Premier League, because of all the TV rights monies and because of all the money elsewhere from the richest league in the world, they don't have to sell unless they've been poorly mismanaged or unless they've got a release clause. They don't have to sell. And if they do sell, they're going to sell for massive money. So, yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, sign me, Liverpool. I only want $60 a week just to prove my worth. No chance. I would take Ryan. He looks a good player. That's who I think we're going to be turning to, you know. That is, apart with the exception of maybe Minte, who the links won't properly go away for Minte, which is worrying. If we turn around to PSG and go, we're not paying 145 million, and if we can't negotiate them down to a more respectable fee, not personally for me, but for the club, I've got a feeling we're going to turn to Ryan. And even then, that's still going to be about 80 million's worth. That's still going to be about 80 million pounds worth of a player in Ryan. And as I mentioned earlier about Krupi, he looks decent, but it's not a long-term sample size for me as to whether or not he's going to be a good enough player. Imagine if Spurs just paid the exact money for Barcola. That would be mental. With the way that you're moving in this transfer window, bro, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think Barcola would want to join, which could be the only stumbling block. But with the way that you've been moving in this transfer window, I wouldn't be surprised if you if you were just like 145 million. There you go. Wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. I don't think he would join us, but just a thought. Yeah, that's fair. It's a fair conversation to have. Brahim Diaz, would anyone want him? Creativity-wise, yes. Work rate, yes. Pace and power, Not quite as much. Not quite as much as what I would like. But might be a decent option for Spurs. Might be a decent option for Spurs. Back in the day, big clubs didn't mind taking risks. Example, Omri, CR7, Shirky last season. These scouts need some serious slashings. I mean, every now and again, you do get one superstar player that is young, that goes into a big club, that does really well. I think they've become less and less frequent as the years have moved on. Because, like I say, they go to like the lesser clubs in the Premier League, with all due respect. Brighton gives them a massive platform to go and showcase their skills. And then once they showcase them skills, and then people go, you know what, he's really good. They get sold for big money. They get sold for big, big money. That's why you get like Brian Mbeumo at Brentford, for example, goes for 75 million to Man United. Mateus Cunha went for big money. I know he had a release clause, but just over 60 million to go to Man United. Isak, 125 to Liverpool. The amount of times that Chelsea have bought a Brighton player. Cucurella went for like, 50, 60 million, something in that region. João Pedro for 50. Moises Caicedo, obviously, for 115 or something, wasn't it? Something along them lines. It's why it happens. And you always get the stories, don't you, later on that, Man United or Liverpool or Chelsea or Arsenal had the possibility of signing this player for just £4 million before we moved to Brighton, before we moved to Aston Villa, before we moved to Crystal Palace, or before we moved to West Ham or whoever. But they turned that down because they didn't think he was ready. And then they go to that West Ham, that Everton, that Crystal Palace, that Newcastle or whoever. They turn out to be really good. And then the scouts go, should have got him. We should have got him whilst we had the chance to. I can't believe we didn't get him. Why didn't we get him? Oh my God, that's crazy. And then they go and get him for about 100 times the price. Maybe not 100, but I'm exaggerating. But they go and get him for like 10, 20, 30 times the price. It seems as though big clubs especially need to put their trust in scouting. And even though it may not be big money that you're scouting for, sometimes you can find some real gems. I mean, it wasn't so long ago, 10 years ago, in fact, that a certain club in the West Midlands won the Premier League. And a big player that helped them win the Premier League arrived from, I believe, I could be wrong, the third tier in French football. I'm, of course, talking about N'Golo Kante. You don't need to be a massive, monumental, big name signing for big money to be a good signing. You just need your club to do some good research and some homework on whether or not he is the right signing. So there you go. You guys say bad in the transfer window. Diamande was wrapped around your finger. Seems that way, doesn't it? I know that obviously PSG came in, hijacked it, whatever. But it seems like it was in the palm of our hands for a while and we just messed around with it too much. We need a right winger. Barcola is not playing right wing. Maybe we are looking at Endrick, Minte, or Ryan. Big up 6 times every single time. Hope you're doing well, my friend. I have to somewhat disagree. I think Barcola would play right wing. I think his versatility would mean you could interchange with Munoz or Engamoa or Gakpo. God forbid it's Gakpo. But I feel like the interchange between them would mean Barcola would start out on the right and he could end up on the left, then back on the right, then back on the left, then back on the right. That kind of interchange thing there. But I say the right winger market absolutely stinks. Other than obviously your unrealistic targets like your Yamals, your Elises. It absolutely stinks. I mean, you've put there Minte, Endrick, or Ryan, and I wouldn't be happy with any of them. I would not be happy with any of them. I could look at Endrick's potential. I can look at Ryan's potential, and I can go potential. Sure, be interesting. If it works out, it works out. But I need something more. I need something more for the here and now because I'm looking around at everybody else doing stuff. I'm looking at Arsenal looking to go back-to-back Premier League title winners. I'm looking at Man City looking to sort of continue on the Guardiola legacy with Enzo Maresca. I'm looking at Man United making moves and looking that they've made mistakes in the past, but they're going to rectify them going forward. And they're going to be a mainstay in the top 5 again and maybe push towards something greater. Whether or not that happens or not remains to be seen. I'm looking at, for the immediate future, Chelsea make some big moves, not just in terms of Morgan Rogers and Lacroix, but appointing Xabi Alonso as their manager. That's massive in of itself. I'm looking at Spurs going absolutely crazy in this window. I'm looking at the way that we were almost caught by Bournemouth last season. Why Brighton are continuing to be strong, no matter how many top players they lose. I'm looking at a competitive league. May not be the most eye-catching or easy on the eye to watch at times, but I'm looking at a very competitive league in which, once upon a time, not so long ago, Liverpool were kings of this league. And if we weren't, we were second. And we would push and push and push the title winners every time. And now I'm looking at our squad and going, I don't even think we could make Champions League football next season. I think we'd struggle to potentially make Europa League with how wafer thin our squad is. I'm looking at our squad going, an injury here and an injury there. And I know you can say that for every team. But for us, I think it's more apparent that if an injury does occur to a Van Dijk, if an injury does occur to an Isak, if an injury does occur to a Szoboszlai, our squad doesn't stand a chance of getting Champions League football. And we may even just about scrape Europa Conference League. But even then, I'm not convinced and I'm not guaranteeing it. I'm worried for how thin this squad is. I'm worried for how thin the squad is. I'm worried about the experience level. I'm worried about a lot of things to do with this squad right now. And I'm not happy that our transfer window seemingly is relying on Barcola. But that's the point we've got to right now, where I'm looking at it and I'm going, this is a worry. Because if we don't get him, the 3 names that you mentioned are probably going to be at least 2 of them 3 names. I would probably rule out Endrick, But at the very least, Minter and Ryan are probably where we're going to turn our heads to next. And that, for me, is a worry. You think if Arteta hadn't ran Saka into the ground, Liverpool would have been in for him? Obviously, if Liverpool had continued their consistency in terms of being the top 2 clubs in the country, and if obviously Arsenal hadn't have won the Premier League last year, there is a possibility for me in which I think we would have tested our luck. I think we would have at least tested the waters. I wouldn't say we would have signed him. I think we would have tested the waters on whether or not Saka's want to stay at Arsenal would have happened. But there's been a lot of factors since that have gone against Liverpool in that regard, mainly down to our own hand of not capitalising when we had the opportunities to do so. Losing Jurgen Klopp as well, replacing him with a bald-headed fraud, and obviously Arsenal eventually getting over the line to winning their first Premier League title. And not only that, but obviously getting into a Champions League final as well. Wouldn't have helped Liverpool's cause, I don't think. But I do think if obviously all those things hadn't have happened, and it's always good to play the what-if game, I think Liverpool would have tested the waters. But I don't think we would have signed him, no. The squad, as it stands, is 6th at best. I'd say we're still 5th. I'd say we're still 5th. Obviously, Arsenal and Man City are above us. That's a given. If you're only talking 1 game a week, then I would put Man United above us. I think Man United with 2 games a week might just be below us, but I don't know. And then there's Villa, who have got consistency. But does losing Morgan Rogers and replacing him with Garnacho kind of mean Aston Villa are now below us? Still mad to me, by the way. It was sending shockwaves throughout London. Fair enough. Liverpool have to be serious, or we won't make it to win a Prem or a UCL again for a very long time. Facts. No Salah, no Robbo, no Canate. It's worse. I'd still rather have them now, as they haven't been replaced. Well, Robbo technically has with Simicas. I guess you could say that technically has been a replacement of sorts. I'm not happy about it, but at least we have 2 left backs in that position rather than just the one in Kirkez. Canate, you could say Canate's been replaced by Jacquet, but I'm not happy about it completely because I still would want another centre-back that is reliable in there. So, yeah, I can understand that one. And yeah, the Salah one, I don't even know if Salah will be replaced. I'm not gonna lie to you, dude. I don't even know if Salah is going to be replaced with how slow we've been moving in this transfer window. City got the best attack. I'd say they also got the best midfield, but only if Rodri stays. If he leaves, then it's Arsenal. Defense is obvious. If Arsenal sign Bruno Guimaraes, Arsenal's midfield is the best. If Arsenal sign Bruno Guimaraes, Arsenal's is the best. Rodri is outstanding. The only thing with Rodri is that are his injuries going to hold up this season? Or B, if obviously, like you say, if he goes to Madrid or not. City's attack, Doku, Semenyo, and Haaland. Yeah, I go along with that. That's the best attack. There's no doubt about that. And obviously, Arsenal's defense, yes, that is obvious. So, depending on whether Rodri goes and if Bruno Guimaraes does go to Arsenal or not, would obviously depend on whether or not that particular area flips. Simicast, yeah, I'm gonna. This is the problem we've got, bro. This is the problem we have. I didn't want to say it, but it's not in my mind. It's not in my mind or in anybody else's mind. It's only in the minds of those that are running the club right now. And I'm gonna say that I reckon they're in their heads thinking, we've got Simicast back. Robertson's just left. Left back's fine. Left back's fine. And I'm not happy about it because I didn't rate Simicast a couple of years ago. I thought we should have sold him when his stock was high. I thought we should have cashed in on him then. We didn't. We kept him out of loyalty, which is a big problem that we've had over the years. But yeah, I'm not exactly happy about it either. But that's the reality of the situation. Simicast, in their eyes, is the replacement for Robertson, at least for one more year. Because I highly doubt we're going to get a left back. We've not been linked with any left back. We've not been linked with any new signings in that area. At best, we potentially could promote someone from our youth. Otherwise, no new left backs, bro. That's just the way that it is. I feel for Areola, he can't cook with no ingredients. Yeah. It's like I said in my previous live stream, though. This is pretty much similar to how Arne Slot first took over. Do you remember the summer when Arne Slot took over and we had no signings other than Chiesa? And the only thing we had, the only story we had that was giving us any sort of hope that something was going to be happening in that summer transfer window was Zubimendi. Zubimendi was the only thing that Liverpool fans were clinging on to that could change the entirety of the summer transfer window. And it never happened because Zubimendi decided, I want to stay for the paella and the mountains. And then a year later, he goes to Arsenal anyway. So he must have got bored of them mountains and the paella pretty quick. This is exactly the same thing. Because, again, we're clinging on to Barcola. And it's Barcola this and it's Barcola that. And after that, I got no idea what else happens. We get him, great. Hopefully he works out. Because if he doesn't, I don't know where we go from there. He doesn't join. I still don't know where we go from there. I still don't know. Indie Bomber. Oh, God. What's he put? What's he put? Exclusive. Bradley Barcola has agreed personal terms with Liverpool Football Club. His representatives have reached a full agreement, but the ball is still in PSG's court regarding Liverpool's bid. They haven't accepted or rejected it yet. So, depending on how much stock you put in Bradley Barcola, in Indy Kyler, allegedly, personal terms have been agreed. Which I don't think was ever going to be a problem. I don't think personal terms were ever going to be a problem between player and club. So I'm not surprised that that isn't a problem. But it's going to be interesting to see if A, that is genuine, and B, if what Liverpool decide to do next. What Liverpool decide to do next. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else. I don't think there's anything else, but we shall see on the Bradley Barcola stuff. Anyway, that seemed like a perfect place to wrap up, guys. Thank you all so much for watching, for listening, for taking time out of your busy schedules to hear the ramblings of this guy. Do me a massive favor, though, people. Hit the like button on the way out if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you are new. It will mean the world to me if you could do that. All of those things would be greatly appreciated, as well as obviously dropping your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings on everything that we talked about in the video, or anything that you want to talk about for future videos and live streams to come down below in what will now be the comment section. Please do use and abuse that section, people, and talk to me on that as well. As always, thank you all so much again for watching and for listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video. Big up the chat as always. You guys are absolutely awesome. Big up the likes and the support. You guys, I can't thank you enough for. Until next time, I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I will see and speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll speak to you all again very, very soon.